That's right. We're going over which of these fine young friends you're going to be adding to your team would come up patch 1.3 in the update in the next coming weeks, when you can pick one of the free 4 stars, whether it's Xinyan, Xingqiu, Xiangling, Chong Yoon, Ningguang, or even the lovely dovely Beidou. Which of the ones should you guys be picking? Let's get into that. So we're going to be touching on each of the 6 characters, whether you have them or you do not have them, as well as maybe one of the 2 constellations will come circle back around in case you want that information. There's going to be a couple constellations in some of these characters that are going to be worth picking up specifically for that constellation, and we'll be talking about those as well. So the first one we're going over here is Beidou. Remember, every character in this game with the proper gear and the proper team composition, you know how to play the game, you can make them do your work for you. But we're going over, right, which is the best of these characters for you guys to get your hands on. I'm telling you guys, there's 3 of them that stand out against the rest of the pack. Now, Beidou is a little bit held back right now based on just how she kind of works. She's like a physical damage dealing character that does a lot of electro damage. She's very similar to Razor, but Razor just does the job better. So what she does do, though, is she's got that Tide Caller gameplay. She's a very strong counter attacker, and this is also something that kind of holds her back a little bit as well. She's extremely fun to play, but a lot of the time the enemies just don't really want to attack you sometimes. Just like, I want to block, I want to block, and it just doesn't happen there. So we're not going to go into Beidou too often, but she has a very nice sort of supportish-esque like tank character. You can swap her in, block and attack, parry, do a bunch of cool stuff with her, but she's just not as powerful as a lot of these other options are for you guys. Now, another interesting option here is going to be our boy Chong Yoon. Now, Chong Yoon is very good at doing a melt. He was also very good. He's very strong at propping Superconduct, but really what holds him back with Superconduct, guys, is his field that is left on the ground. So if you're using him to proc Superconduct, that's Electro and Cryo, his field turns all physical damage from normal attack to Cryo damage. So Superconduct lowers their physical resist, and now you're just going to be doing a bunch of Cryo damage, which doesn't benefit from that physical reduction at all in any way, shape, or form. So if you're doing a melt, though, he could be very powerful with one of the other options. A lot of you guys might already have this character as well, is Xiangling. Xiangling is very good with Chong Yoon in a melt team composition. You put the Cryo field down with Chong Yoon, and then you have all of her normal attacks. You build her for boosting up her pyro damage, and all of her normal attacks will inflict Cryo, and then the Guoba will constantly melt. The Pyronado will constantly melt. And that is a very strong way to use this character, and both of them are available for you to pick from the selection of the different 6. Now, you might already have access to one of the 2, so if you're using your Xiangling all the time, you're using it as like your physical carry, you're not going to want to do that wombo combo. Remember, this is something different. It's like the melt Xiangling. All right, now let's get into some of the other ones. These are the 3 most powerful ones here that you can pick from, because they support very well 3 different archetypes of team compositions here. So we have Ningguang here, very, very, very powerful burst damage Geo character. Now, Geo characters are also getting even better in this upcoming update here, especially if you have Zhongli as well. That's going to be incredibly powerful because he's going to allow you to have a Geo in peril, basically going to lower that Geo resistance and physical resistance, but there hasn't been a way to lower Geo resistance before then. So if you are using Zhongli, you haven't got your hands on Ningguang yet, then this is going to be a very solid character for you. She's just very, very strong. Throw the Jade Screen down, use Star Shatter to blow it up, get a bunch of extra charge attacks that consume no stamina. Strategic Reserve will boost your Geo damage characters in there, and then you'll Star Shatter. It's going to do bonus damage when the Jade Screen is out. That's why you want to throw it down there, and then you'll go ahead and use your normal attack / charge attack there. So very strong character when all things are said and done here. It's going to be a top pick for Geo teams if you don't have access to her already. Now, for Superconduct teams or physical-based teams in general, Xinyan is actually very, 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 very powerful and an incredibly strong character because she is going to increase the amount of damage that you do with your physical carries while her shield is on. So 15% increased physical damage there. That is very nice. You throw that on a character, you're going to be good to go. She also does do a lot of damage herself with her own elemental burst, the Rift Revolution. We'll get more onto this later when we start talking about constellations for some of these characters, because you can make this guaranteed critically hit. So it makes you easily able to build her up to just kind of get in there, build it for physical damage, build it for crit damage. Don't have to build it for crit rate at all. So she's extremely easy to build that constellation and absolutely just smash something with the elemental burst in a Superconduct team there. Make sure you put the Superconduct on first, come in there, she'll do your big burst damage, and then, you know, put someone in there like Razor or even someone like Kea who can do superconduct stuff as well. So very strong superconduct teammate. Now the other one that we need to talk about here is going to be the boy Xingqiu. All right, everyone knows by now Xingqiu is an incredibly powerful character. He was very overlooked early on in Genshin Impact. I used him for a long while now, and the cool thing about Xingqiu is he is very, very versatile. He was very good when the game first came out because he is very good at putting hydro on enemies, which you use to then proc vaporize. However, since patch 1.2, when we got the new glacial equipment there, the artifact set, the Blizzard Strayer, freeze teams have become even more prominent, right? We have characters like Kea running around in the Blizzard Strayer set. We have a big Ganyu running around in the Blizzard Strayer set. You can even use the Blizzard Strayer set and some other weird stuff. A potential character is going to be Xiao in the Blizzard Strayer set with this guy as well. So he's even more flexible than before. He's not just good for vaporize, he's good for freeze teams on top of that. He's incredibly powerful because of his Guha Sword Rain Cutter, which is a long duration elemental burst. It lasts 15 seconds. It has a 20-second cooldown. And what it does is when you normal attack, it's going to apply hydro damage, and you use this to constantly proc hydro damage, so you can then vaporize or freeze over and over and over. Incredibly powerful. The other thing that this elemental burst does do, and his elemental skill does do, is it protects your carry out there as well, because it's going to reduce the damage they take by a substantial margin. And then on top of that, it is going to actually heal them when the swords go away. So you'll start off with like 3 active swords. Each time you get hit, one of your swords will go away. With the elemental skill, the damage will be reduced by a large margin, and then you'll heal based off of Xingqiu's HP. And then while the rain cutter's up, those swords will always be there, which is going to be very, 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 very nice for you as well. So very strong character. Top 3 for you guys to pick if you want to go for freeze / vaporize. Xingqiu is going to be your boy. If you're going for like a superconduct, big damage team, you want some other physical damage increase, Shinyon is going to be an amazing character for you there. And if you're on the Geo train now, Ningguang is definitely a top pick for you. Now, when it comes down to constellations for these 6 different characters, there are a couple constellations that set these characters up for even greater success. You can use them all at C0. There's got a couple constellations here that are very powerful that you can get access to early on. So we have constellations for Ningguang here. Very overlooked one. Doesn't sound like that much on paper, but in practice and actually on paper, when you math it out, it's very, very strong. So when a normal attack hits, it deals AoE damage. This is very, 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 very good. You group enemies up, and remember, her normal attack shoots 2 little rocks out. Both those rocks are going to blow up for AoE damage. So it's incredibly powerful. This constellation's very, very, very strong. So if you have a C0, Ningguang, none of these other characters, you know, you have some of them, none of them really tickling your fancy. You want your Geo team to be even better. You're using her all the time. You're using her for AoE damage on top of her big single target burst. This is something that is incredibly powerful as well. Obviously, if you have her all the way down at C5, you probably already know how good her Constellation 6 is. So this is going to give you 7 Star Jades when you use her Elemental Burst Star Shatter. This is going to make her normal skill even better for you because it does do bonus damage based off of how many Star Jades you have. So you Elemental Burst, it gives you 7. You're going to get 7 times whatever the multiplier is. For me right now, I have a level 5 normal skill here. So it's going to be 65.7% times 7 because I have 7 Star Jades on top of the charge attack damage. So even right now, I'll be hitting for an insane amount of damage. You level this bad boy up to level 10, you're going to be doing some good things in no time whatsoever. The other one that's very strong here is the Constellation 2 for the shock effect of Jade Screen. When it's shattered, the cooldown will reset. It's going to occur once every 6 seconds. This will also apply to burst damage for you because what you'll be doing with her is you'll drop her elemental skill, the Jade Screen. You can drop this on an enemy. It actually has okay multiplier. It's pretty high, 300% at level 5 here, as you can see. Drop it on the enemy's head, Star Shatter. This will break the Jade Screen, and you'll drop it on the enemy's head again, and then you can charge attack. So very strong stuff. Both those constellations, 1, 2, and 3, I guess all of those constellations are all incredibly powerful. The level 4 one is not really that good. It increases elemental resistance by 10%, makes you a little bit tankier. Nothing super crazy, though, when we're talking about that character. Now, the other one here, let's go over to Xinyan. Xinyan, very strong constellations here. The constellation we were talking about before, though, C2 impromptu opening. This is the one that allows you to gear her up for just all attack % and critical hit damage if you want to build her for just come in, use that elemental burst, and leave. So her elemental burst physical crit rate, it says has its crit rate increased by 100%. It actually means to 100%. Straight up there, 100% crit rate, and it's also going to give you a level 3 shield when cast. So this does two things: allows that crit damage build, and it's going to give you that level 3 shield. And remind yourself, while you have that shield on, whoever has the shield on, you can even swap to another character, is going to have that increased 15% physical damage, which is very strong here. But let's not forget about Constellation 4 here. Sweeping Fervor swing damage decreases opponent's physical resistance by 15% for 12 seconds as well. So these are the two top constellations for her. 2 and 4 here. This is going to give you that physical resistance down. This is going to work in tandem with Superconduct in that sort of style team. Very strong constellations to think about for Xinyan if you've been using her in any way, shape, form, or facet. Now let's talk about constellations for Xingqiu that you guys should be thinking about here. Now, the first one here, Constellation 1, the Scent Remained here. This is going to give you one additional rain sword, and this one is pretty powerful for Xingqiu because what this is going to do is going to allow your elemental skill, the Rain Sword Fatal Rain Screen. It's going to apply those 3 swords to protect your character, where you're going to get an additional sword. So that's going to be very, very strong for you when you have access to this one right here. So this is going to be very nice. It's going to give you additional healing and 1 extra hit of damage reduction. Very strong. Now, if you've almost closed him out, you're at Constellation 5 already. If you get him to Constellation 6, this buffs up his elemental burst here. So this is very strong. The best part about this, there's 2 things it does. It's going to increase the damage that this elemental burst does do, but the best thing is it's going to give him 3 energy every time his elemental burst rain swords hit an enemy. So you can get a lot of attacks out. You can get like 1 attack, like maybe like every second-ish or so, maybe a little bit faster than that, maybe a little bit slower than that, depending on what character you're using there. But remember, his elemental burst lasts 15 seconds. So if you're in combat for a full 15 seconds, this can easily get you 30, 40 energy back, which is going to be very, very strong because remember, his elemental burst is pretty expensive, right? It's 80 energy cost. If you can get 30 to 40 energy back from that, that's huge in the long run because you can use him early on. You can use him at a low level. He's got a very low investment. Take him to level 50, level 60, get some energy recharge on him, and just go from there. Maybe get some HP on him. And he's not going to do a lot of damage for you, but he's going to fulfill that role of proccing freeze or being able to have you proc vaporize or whatever sort of hydro-based element that you're looking for. And then later on, once you get Constellation 6, you can sort of take off some of the energy recharge because he doesn't need a whole lot because he's already getting 30 to 40 back for free. You're having the requirement of what you need to get back for energy for him. That's going to be incredibly powerful for you. And you're going to be able to do some nice things where you build him for crit rate and crit damage because you don't need as much energy recharge anymore because of this Constellation 6. And if you have Constellation 6, you'll have Constellation 4 as well. And while his elemental burst is going on, the damage of his elemental skill is going to be increased by 50%, which is also very nice. Now, Chongyun has some very nice constellations, but none of them are like on their own an insane thing. Like Chongyun goes from like, boom, you know, he doesn't just jump up from one constellation. He's just about getting as many of them as possible. Or they're all just damage dealing, increasing constellations or energy recharge constellations. The first one, right, his normal attack combo releases more ice blades, doing additional damage. That's a very nice constellation though. If you want to get your hands on it, if you want to say, what is going to affect my damage the most as a starting player, I really like Chongyun. This one is going to do a lot of work for you because the last attack of his normal attack combo is going to release those 3 blades, and each blade deals a 50% of his attack multiplier as cryo damage, which is very nice because it's each blade. So that's an extra 150% multiplier against all enemies in its path. So this one is very, 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 very nice for that extra AoE damage. Now, all of Xingling's constellations are about just increasing her damage, but Constellation 1 is pretty nice. Anyone hit by Guoba is going to have their pyro resistance reduced by 15% for 6 seconds. This is exceptionally strong. You know, if you have her in some sort of melt team, someone's going to be doing pyro damage, whether it's her or somebody else, and this is going to give you that pyro resistance reduction. Very nice damage bonus there. A lot of people get confused about Constellation 2. What does this do? I don't even see it doing anything a lot of times. That's because you have to get through her entire normal attack chain and then hit them with the final part, and then 2 seconds later they'll blow up for AoE pyro damage. Really not all that great there. But this one right here, easily accessible, pyro resistance reduction, incredibly good. The other 2 that she has are for Pyronado, longer duration, and then C6 is while Pyronado's going on, everyone gets 15% more pyro bonus damage. They're nice, but not as game-changing as the C1, so I wouldn't really worry too much about getting these other ones. They're good, but if any of the other options we've talked about, even if it's a new character, sounds better, go for that instead. Now, Beidou has a lot of very interesting constellations to talk about, and they could all be utilized and be worth it in the long run if you're a Beidou fan. So Constellation 1 here, when Stormbreaker's used, you're going to get a shield. So this just reinforces the fact that she's going to be like a tanky sort of bruiser type character with her counter. And then now Stormbreaker is going to give you a shield as well, absorb 16% of her max HP for 15 seconds. That's very nice. Constellation 2, this is going to increase her AoE damage a lot. The arc lightning that jumps after you use your elemental burst Stormbreaker is going to jump to 2 additional targets. That's more AoE damage. That's pretty nice as well. This one, though, by far is going to be C6 Bane of Evil. During the duration of Stormbreaker, the electro resistance of enemies around you are going to be reduced by 15%. Very, 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 very strong constellation here. And you can see, I know it's sort of a side stuff, just how strong that Xiangling buff is going to be, because while he's got his shield on, anyone wearing that shield that he gets from that buff coming out 1.3, 20% all resist down and 20% physical resist down. That's just baked into that character now. I'm getting a little bit excited. Sorry, we're talking about Geo teams, so I got a little bit excited. Ultimately, which one you guys want to pick on is going to be up to you and your playstyle, but hopefully you guys got the information you needed to kind of make a little bit more informed decision if you're on the fence. That's really what the video was about. If you guys want to see more Genshin Impact content, character guides, math, whatever it is, news, come check it out. Come hang out in the Discord as well as on Twitch, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.